Well, it's happening again. Another US tool manufacturer is closing its doors. This time it's the Stanley Black Decker plant in New Britain, Connecticut, and they're laying off around 300 workers. They are joining a long line of tool manufacturers since the 1970s that are shifting their manufacturing overseas due to costs. But this factory was a holdout for decades. So what has changed now? Why are they closing down and shifting their production to Asia now? Well, the company gave some reasons, but honestly to me, they really don't make much sense. So in this video, we're gonna dig deeper. This is also happening in the backdrop of a major push from the US government to try and bring manufacturing back to the US, something that we desperately need to do in order to not be so dependent on foreign competitors like China. So is this closure of the Stanley plant a one-off, or is it an indication that this is not going quite as well as we'd hope? Are tool manufacturers going to be coming back to the US, or is it going to be more of the same, of shifting production overseas? Well, let's talk about it. But before we do, be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel, and also be sure to make a comment. I love reading your comments. I really learn a lot from them, so be sure to leave a comment if there's anything that you want to add to the conversation.
Stanley Black Decker is the world's largest tool company and employs hundreds of people, but now many are being laid off.
A company that's been a symbol of the city for nearly 2 centuries announces it's closing a factory.
With demand for these declining, this plant here needs to shut down.
This is the Stanley FatMax. It's a great tape measure. In fact, a lot of people consider this to be the best tape measure that money can buy. Up until now, this tape measure has been made right here in the US. It's stamped right on it, but not anymore. As of May 18th, 2026, Stanley Black Decker is closing the New Britain, Connecticut plant that makes this tape measure. This is significant because New Britain is the global headquarters of Stanley Black Decker, and there's been a factory there since the 1800s, but not anymore. So why? Well, the reason that the company gave was that their double-sided model that they make in a factory in Thailand is more popular. So of course they need to close.
That don't make no sense.
But my question is, why can't the US plant just start making double-sided tape measures? They can't be that different, right? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, who first reported the story, the company said that they had considered that. They considered manufacturing the double-sided tape measure, but they faced technical barriers that made it impossible to do in the US, and they looked into all options, according to them, to keep from closing the plant.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Now, I'll be honest, it sounds like a load of bull to me. I've worked in factories and I understand that retooling can be difficult and expensive and time consuming, but for something as simple as just printing on the other side of a tape measure, I feel like it can't be that difficult or even that expensive. In fact, one of the employees that was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal said that there has never been a point in time where we ever heard anything about there being an issue with single-sided versus double-sided. This also isn't the first closure for Stanley Black Decker. They closed plants in Texas and South Carolina in 2023 and one in North Carolina in 2024. They also closed a plant in Mississippi earlier this year. So why are they closing this factory? Here is the smoking gun. In their annual report for 2025, they talk about their cost reduction program and how they saved nearly $2.1 billion since 2022.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
Now, when did they start closing plants again? Oh yeah, back in 2023.
That's it, right there, right there.
Here is the truth. Labor is simply more expensive in the US than it is overseas. As an example, the minimum wage in the US right now is less than $8 an hour, a little over 20 grand a year. Now that hasn't changed in, like 20 years, but I'll be honest, I don't know anyone who's making that little. Even kids starting at McDonald's are making a lot more than that. So the actual figure per employee is likely much higher, especially when you include benefits. The minimum wage in Thailand, where the double-sided tape measure is made, is about $11 per day. That's on the high end, which is less than $3,000 per year. So even when you factor in shipping costs, it's a no-brainer from a cost standpoint. And honestly, I believe that the whole nonsense about the double-sided tape measure is really just a line so that they don't have to say that they're laying off Americans to produce overseas, because that just sounds bad. Now, there is another major development in the world economy that's causing huge problems for US manufacturing, and this is gonna shock you. But before I get into that, I want to tell you about this video's sponsor, electric e-bikes. Now, you guys have heard me talk about my electric e-bike before, and so you know how much I love it. I've had my bike for over a year now, and it looks brand new, even with all the use that I get out of it. Electric e-bikes are great for cruising around the neighborhood or running errands, and the big battery means that you could ride it for hours on end without worrying about your charge. Electric e-bikes have so many great features. First of all, they fold up neatly so you can easily store them, and they have tons of accessories to make your e-bike even more functional. Things like pet trailers and cargo baskets and buddy seats. I love riding my e-bike around the neighborhood, but I could also see these being really useful on places like college campuses or in the city or even out in the country. So check them out by using the link in the description or the QR code on the screen. And if you order your new electric e-bike using my code, DIY with Dave at checkout, you'll also get a free bike cover. So definitely check them out, and thanks again to Electric E-Bikes for sponsoring this video. So as I mentioned, there is a huge shift in manufacturing that's impacting companies large and small, including tool manufacturers like Stanley Black Decker. You can see it printed right here on the tape measure. And it says, made in the USA with global materials. Now this basically means that the tool is assembled in the US, but most and perhaps all of the parts come from overseas. Now here's a graph from the US Federal Reserve showing how much iron and steel was produced in the US since the 1970s. Now what's clear from this graph is how cyclical it is. Production will rise and fall with the economy and with recessions, but there's something else that's very apparent from this graph, and that is that we are in a clear downward trajectory. Even though our population has increased by more than 100 million people, and we use more steel today than ever before, our domestic steel production is at an all-time low, except for a short time in the 1980s, and a few of the recessionary dips. But we're not in a recession right now. This is just how things are and where they're headed. Then there is aluminum. Now this is where things get really crazy. Here is a graph of aluminum production in the United States. To say that it's nearly non-existent today is an understatement. We are producing less aluminum in the United States than ever before. We rank 12th in the world, just behind Iceland. In 2024, we produced around 670,000 metric tons of aluminum. By contrast, China, the largest producer, made around 43 million tons. That's more than 60 times what we produced. Our tools are made from steel and aluminum, aside from some plastics that are used. And we simply are not producing enough steel and aluminum in the US to satisfy our manufacturing needs, especially if we were to start producing more tools here. Now, another aspect to consider is one of the major downsides of producing metals like steel and aluminum, and that is pollution. Now, I lived in Pittsburgh for years. It's a beautiful city, and I heard stories about what it was like there during the height of the steel era. And there were times when, in the middle of the day, it was so dark that the city had to turn on all of the street lamps so that they could see through all the smoke from the steel factories. Now, we've put laws on the books that have helped support the environment and have helped make our air cleaner and our water cleaner, all things that are important, things we care about. But those regulations have made producing steel and aluminum more expensive, which also led to more production being shifted overseas. Essentially what we did is we exported our pollution overseas along with our production. But again, the fact that we're not producing these raw materials in the US and the fact that we're relying on foreign countries for them makes it make even less sense to produce domestically. And that's how we get that label, made in USA with global materials. So Trump has talked a lot about bringing manufacturing back to the US, but what is the government actually doing to bolster US manufacturing? Well, the first thing that the Trump administration is doing is that they're giving loans to small businesses and to manufacturers. This is important because sometimes all a business needs is a bit of capital just to get started and get off the ground or to expand existing operations. And loans like these can make a huge difference. Now, other administrations have given loans as well, but Trump is giving far bigger loans this time around. But there's another factor that is by far much more impactful, and that is tariffs. Now, the idea of tariffs is simple. We make goods coming in from overseas more expensive, which makes domestic manufacturing more attractive. In theory, it makes sense, but in practice, it has all sorts of problems. Trump has gone back and forth on tariff rates. He's increased them and decreased them and provided exemptions to well-connected people and companies. And then the Supreme Court came in and struck down many of the tariffs. And so in practice, it's really only led to more and more confusion. In order for tariffs to work, they need to be strategic and they need to be consistently applied for a long period of time. The real problem with manufacturing, though, is that factories are not built overnight. Factories can take years to build and they cost extreme amounts of money. And the company's not going to be willing to build a factory in the US if things are uncertain here. They simply cannot make the investment if they're not sure whether it'll pay off. What these tariffs have done, though, is that they have made the raw materials that we need to manufacture more expensive, because a lot of those things are coming in from overseas. And that isn't helping these factories either. For example, in 2025, Trump raised the aluminum tariff to 50%. And those tariffs are not subject to the Supreme Court ruling, so they stay in place. And so today, aluminum tariffs are among some of the highest tariffs ever in history. And so what has happened is that these factories continue to shut down and lay off workers. And a lot of that is because they just can't get the raw materials that they need, and the costs are just so high. In fact, since 2025, we've lost over 100,000 manufacturing jobs here in the US. If the goal is to bring back American manufacturing, then we need to do things differently. And the tool factory of the future is not going to look like the tool factory of the past. New factories are going to have more automation. They're going to have more robots. They're going to have fewer people. And it takes me back to Stanley. So again, Stanley Black Decker decided to close the factory that makes the FatMax because they couldn't afford to retool to make the tape double-sided. Again, it's kind of a ridiculous suggestion, but what I really think happened was that for them, it doesn't really make sense to retool an old factory. What needs to happen is that the factory needs to transition to modern manufacturing in order to compete. And that's what's really expensive. It requires expensive equipment upgrades, new robots, new systems, new software, and extensive electrical work to make it all work. And so that's why I think they decided that they couldn't afford it. But there are innovative things happening in this country. And so for that, let's actually just shift real quick to talk about the perspective of a small-time producer. Now, there are people out there, even a lot of YouTubers, who have designed tools and are selling them out on the open market. And if you have an idea for a tool or a part or something you want to build, in the past, you'd need to go to some factory or a company in China to get it done. First, you'd do prototyping, and then you'd actually manufacture your tool. And that takes time. It takes time to both consult with them and then to have the part shipped back to you. But there is something really cool happening right now. There are new factories opening up in the US, and I recently toured one of those. This factory is from a company called Oshcut, and they're essentially a made-to-order manufacturer. If you have an idea for a part or an idea for some product, you can get in touch with them and they can have the part manufactured for you the same day. They've got laser cutters and benders and all sorts of equipment that have the capability of making just about any part from just about any material. Now, what I saw in their factory was really impressive, and it was great to see all of their operations, to learn about how it worked, and to meet their CEO, Caleb Chamberlain. And I made a video all about it, and I'll link that video below if you want to check it out. I'll also leave a link to the company below if you want to check them out and see if they could build something for you. In fact, if you use my link, you can get 50% off your first order up to $200. So check them out. So again, in order to be really competitive here, we need to rethink how we build things. And companies like Oshcut are leading the pack in a way that could really revolutionize how things are manufactured here in the US. So in the end, we've got problems. We need to bring back more manufacturing to the US, and we can't count on the government to do it for us. In order to do it, we need to be more competitive, and that means that we need to be more creative. And until we do that, we're going to see more and more companies like Stanley Black Decker continue to outsource their manufacturing like they've done for decades. Now, I hope you liked the video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.